Hey everybody, it is Justin, your guide into the Forgotten Runiverse. So I've just been kind of mulling in my mind the 49-page Forgotten Runiverse white paper breakdown video. It's just kind of been breathing down my neck for the past couple of weeks. But we got an update from the Forgotten Runiverse, the Runiverse game. Just telling us Happy New Year's. 2024 is set to be enchanting as we prepare our next gameplay event. Ooh, and update our roadmap. Ooh, so are you ready to finally mint your plot of land in our upcoming alpha build? So we can kind of see here, wow, we have building construction, we have cost to build a specific type of house, what color, and all the builders. So, we were able to experience the core gameplay loops of just crafting, fighting enemies and gathering resources. But what are we going to do with that outside of just crafting items? I think we're going to be able to build buildings and, use our land and, explore dungeons. And, that kind of gives us a good segue into what we're probably going to see in the early access of the alpha for the Forgotten Runiverse game. So, in the vertical slice, it was just the basics, but in the early access, we can kind of see here what's updated. So what can we kind of expect, right? There are going to be 4 cities. There's going to be an updated level cap to 30. So that's going to be really interesting. There's also a lot more recipes for equipment, as well as a lot more spells, up to 30 plus from 21. There's also going to be 3 dungeons, and we're going to have basic features of land. So you might be wondering, how do we know more about land? How do we know about cities? What are we going to, how are we going to utilize land to, do the, level up? So that's where we jump into the fun part, the white paper. So this is an extremely pretty in-depth white paper, and I'm just dropping into page 9. Feel free to read everything else as you please. But I kind of want to talk about the number of land and what we can use land for. So we'll kind of be breaking this down in this video. So again, there are only 70,000 land plots that will ever exist in the Runiverse. So again, given the live service and expanding nature of the Forgotten Runiverse world map, this means that only a portion of those land plots will exist in the open beta's release, and more will be incorporated as the game world expands. So as more land gets expanded, you can kind of think about it, kind of like DLC whenever a game drops, an expansion. The map below illustrates where a portion of the world is unrevealed or forgotten. And as the game expands, the shroud will pull back to reveal new areas, experiences, and player-owned plots. So in this way, early plots will be improved from the initial release and take advantage of game growth and updates. So that's a super interesting sentence that we'll have to probably expand upon later. And again, the initial launch of plots in the Runiverse will be the most central to the game's initial playable areas and content. So as the game grows, we will release new plots up to the world limit of 70,000 spread across the entirety of the Runiverse. So we'll drop into this map here, the world, right? And, the initial planned world of the Forgotten Runiverse is massive at over 200 square kilometers. In the initial release of the game, the explorable world will span almost 76 kilometers and be comprised of 36 different regions, each with their own unique visuals, enemies, resources, and experiences. And I think we were able to see a couple of those regions. We can kind of, I pulled up an image of the map here, and it kind of shows us. You can kind of also see the cutoff line where the other parts of the land in the future will be released. But I would actually refer to the Forgotten Runiverse, forgottenrunes.com/map. You can kind of see, it cuts off at some point. If we can kind of see the quantum shadow here, we can kind of see that the northern part of the map, there's a lot more the northern part. There's a lot more in the southern part, and that will probably come in future expansions. So that'll be interesting to see as well. So again, let's keep scrolling on and kind of talk about what each region, kind of means, right? So each region has a unique set of essence strengths, aligning them with fire, water, earth, lightning, wind, chaos, and light. So again, these essence strengths determine how many material extractions are available for each material type within the region. So again, when you have your land, you're probably going to want to know what resources are on it, and how the region affects that. That's that, right? So as one might imagine, this means that some regions like the far jungle might be richer in resources like wood, while other regions like the Eagle Peaks may be richer in ore deposits, right? So again, across the Runiverse, traversable land within regions will fall into the following types. So there's the wilderness, which represents the openness, and that corresponds to all the vast open space within the world that players can explore. And again, we'll have to reference the release features for the alpha versus the beta, because in the beta, the travel type will transition from instance to open world. So keep in mind, this is just the alpha, so all of the land travel will be instanced, right? That will probably apply to your D. You'll probably be able to teleport to it. I meant your land. too much D land and digital real estate talk. But basically, just keep in mind that. Okay, I'm going too deep into the weeds. Anyways, in the openness, players will find player-owned plots, gathering nodes that can be harvested, and enemies which they can fight to gain experiences and resources, and areas of interest, which can be quest-related locales or dungeons. So again, we're going to see 3 dungeons in the alpha. Again, pending possible changes. I don't know. Everything's subject to change. But again, wild areas. Wild areas correspond to special zones where players can encounter thematic challenges and rewards. And then there's also NPC hubs. So throughout the Runiverse, players will come across NPC areas, which are small, non-instanced NPC hubs where players can find quests and trade posts. So upon release, there will be 7 of these accessible to players: Zeros, Kobold Crossing, Fernome Town, Hedge Wizard Encampment, Evermore, and the Sacred Pillars. So we get to the very interesting part. Cities. Cities are going to be really important, in my opinion, right? So cities are large, partially player-owned hubs that are accessible through a special interface when you are close. So each city is comprised of a number of NPC areas, which correspond to unique districts or areas of interest, and a number of partially player-owned neighborhoods. That's very interesting to me, right? Because you can have land that might get minted. Of course, I think it's RNG, right? When you roll your land, it's probably going to drop into either the open wilderness or it's going to drop into cities. And I think they have an explanation, further down that I'll read later. But each city has a special NPC area called the Commercial District, which players can find beginner level service buildings of every type to start their journey. For release, the Runiverse will have 7 cities. 4 of which will be accessible in the alpha. I keep dropping to that tab. There's 4, and these 4 will probably be Marketropolis, Evershine, Cerulean Academy, and Gardenoa. So we'll talk about what those are. So Marketropolis is the Red Wizard capital. It's the home to the stock sanctuary, where players will eventually participate in simulated stock markets to earn rewards. So basically the aristocrats, the capitalists, etc., etc. Number 2 is Evershine, right? So this is the hedonistic city, the Yellow Wizard city, and the Runway, where players will be able to show off their looks and compete for prizes. And then number 3 is the Cerulean Academy. So the university, the Blue Wizard's home, is a place where players will be able to share their knowledge of the world and learn stories of the world. And there's also Gardenoa, which is dedicated to the preservation of the balance within the world, basically protects the Green Vault, which players will eventually be able to grow their own gardens. And then there's also, Alisar's Keep and Goblin Town. Basically, Alisar's Keep is a big zoo with, arcades and minigames, and Goblin Town is I think that's the PvP area. So no PvP in the alpha, I believe, but later on, I think PvP is going to get kind of epic. So let's talk about land plots. Land plots are player-owned and operated areas of the game where ownership deferred from ERC 721s on the Ethereum mainnet. So their specifics can be found in section 1.4. We won't go over that, but you can feel free to read through it. So these plots can be located. Okay, so where can these be located, right? They can be located in the wilderness on the general world map, right? So, it can be anywhere, I think. I hope I'm getting this right, guys. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it can be anywhere. So that's going to be really interesting. And then, or within the instanced capital or large cities of the game, and are integral to the common player's progression and game experience. So each plot is owned and operated by an individual in the player community and represents a unique opportunity for the owner to gain materials or improve their gameplay experience and strength. So while some common and early game progression in crafting and specialization are available in NPC areas, higher level progression can only occur through player-owned buildings. So I believe this pertains to, after level 30, to level 45 and up to level 60, you have to use player-owned plots, to upgrade your wizard into specific specializations. But that's for, way in the future. So we'll go over that later. So again, land plots are just one of the ways which players will shape the look, feel, and utility of the world of Forgotten Runiverse. So outside of the world, the regions, and the land plots, let's talk about the land itself, right? So, oh man, where do I even begin, guys? So we already went through. There's 70,000 of them. For plot owners, each plot works as a resource accumulation pool, right? So it's really important. We were kind of running around in the Runiverse game, gathering resources, but land is going to be important because if you build a gathering station, and we'll kind of go over, the size of the land and what you can build on top of it. Again, it's going to pull from the resource pool of that land, and I think that's RNG. So we'll have to see that. So as other players, okay, I got to reread this. So each plot works as a resource accumulation pool where the value lies in the utilization bonus for one to many players. As other players interact with the land to gain resources or make use of buildings, the plot owner will gain a bonus of gold or resources for each interaction. So if you're a landowner, if you have land and people decide to use your, say gathering station or service building, then you get a portion, you get a bonus of gold or resources for each interaction. So again, each plot will be uniquely identified by its size, location of the world, and material deposits. So when you mint your land, you're going to want to keep an eye on the size, location, and the material deposits, because that's going to be really important to gameplay and what you plan to do. Because the recipes that we crafted in the pre-alpha, pulled from specific resources. You're probably going to want to keep an eye on that. So the plot size determines the number and type of buildings that can be placed on plots to provide value to the player community and owner, as well as the scale of material deposits it can hold. So beneath the very soil of each plot of land that lies materials whose type and abundance are dictated by the size and location within the world, right? So the size, obviously, if it's bigger, has more resources. If it's in a specific region, it's going to have those regions' resources as well. So here's a breakdown of the types of plots available in the Runiverse. So again, here we have the homestead. This is going to be the most common inside of Runiverse. There's about 52,500 total in the world. Keep in mind that only a small portion will probably be released in the land mint across all tiers except for towns and cities, because there's only 105 towns and 7 cities, and these are giga massive, right? So a lot of you guys may have earned land inside of the pre-alpha. So we're going to talk about what that land does, how you can utilize it. So again, homesteads, most people got homesteads. They're 8x8, so you can put a house on it, or you can put a gathering station. There's 52,500 settlements. There's 16,828. It's 16 by 16. You'll have more access to put different things on top of it. We'll kind of go through what those are in a moment, as well as villages being the 32 by 32. So again, settlements, it's about 4 times the size of homesteads in terms of square feet, and villages, if you do 32 by 32. Anyways, I'm going too deep in the weeds. There's only 560 villages, so that's pretty rare. I think those are going to host guilds. But land uses. Plot owners will be able to earn their plots either passively by assigning usage rights or actively through taking steps to improve and manage land to benefit the broader game community. So what are these 5 things? So the 5 things are community resources, gathering stations. By all means, I think that gathering station is going to be really important to, the crafting end game, especially if you want to craft perfect items. So these are upgradable buildings that allow players to extract materials from a plot's reserve, right? So you don't have to run around the Runiverse looking for resources to harvest via RNG. You can just go to a gathering station, use it, and boom, magic. But yeah, the next thing is personal expression and utility. Houses. These buildings allow players to store items and express themselves through customization and decoration. So if you want a homestead, decorate it, get clouded, have your house and your land, then by all means, feel free to use the houses as well. I think there's some measure of storage in here, but I'm not sure. I'll have to review that. But again, The next thing is community progression. So service buildings are very, very important. So these are upgradable specialized buildings that are vital to item creation, player progression, and trading purposes. So let's kind of go over that, right? So we already know what houses do. Gathering stations for getting resources. Homesteads or larger, you can build a house or a gathering station, right? But as we move to settlements, settlements are important because you'll be able to build, I think, maybe one of these on them. I think mage halls, I think these, anyways. Settlements are important because you can build a service building on them. And service buildings are important because in the pre-alpha, we saw a couple of service buildings. We saw the mage workshops to build specific crystals, memory crystals to, utilize different spells. And then forges, important for your crafting, for your equipment. And then there's also temples for recycling all your items and, turning that into mana, which can help you craft better items in the mage workshop and the forge. And yeah, I think those are the only ones that we saw. So since we're going to be able to use these our lands in the pre-alpha, I think we're probably going to have some basic features of buildings. So you're probably going to want to take stock of what you were able to mint in the land mint as well as what you earned in the pre-alpha and kind of plan accordingly for the alpha. So let's talk about the fourth one, the social hubs. So these are guild halls. And these are only relegated to villages or larger. And these are going to be really big social hubs. I don't know. I don't think I could speak too much on guild halls, but I guess guild halls are self-explanatory. And there's also city stones. So, those are teleportation devices, but we'll kind of go over that. So guild halls are upgradable buildings that serve as hubs for socializing and commerce while granting their members special benefits. And last but not least, travel stones are city stones are the travel network, right? They're large structures which connect the plot to the world's vast travel system. So that's pretty important, especially if you want to get connected if you want to instantly teleport to all the cities, really, points of interest. So that's going to be really important, especially if you want to pull people to your land to utilize your resources, your guild halls, everything that you have to offer, especially if you're building land on top, if you're building buildings on top of your land, right? So that's just kind of wanted to go over. I don't want to go too deep into the land material deposits and any of that stuff because it gets really deep really fast. I just kind of wanted to break down what you can use your land for, how the size of the land, where it's located, the regions, etc., etc. Just kind of go over everything that we're probably going to see in the early access alpha. So I just kind of wanted to go over, what you can use your land for, what we can kind of expect to build on top of it. But again, all subject to change over time. But we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see what the announcements are. Let me just see if I'm forgetting anything. I talked about cities. Yep. Also talked about there's more spells. I'm excited for more spells, honestly. I'm excited for all that. I'm excited for more equipment recipes because that honestly does affect your build. I'm curious what kind of builds we can build, especially when we're making our wizards, because I love that stuff. So anyways, feel free to check out all the information on the Runiverse game, the Forgotten Runes website, as well as I'll try to have all the links in the description. My memory is failing me today, but I hope you liked and learned something from this video. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button. But I hope I'm not forgetting anything. But no pun intended. Okay, guys, I gotta end the video or I'm gonna die. But we'll break down more of the white paper as we get closer to the alpha early access. So again, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.